Welcome to another episode of Building a Leadership Mindset podcast. I'm your host, Nikki C, and tuning in from Philadelphia, PA, or hosting actually from Philadelphia, PA. Super excited to have you guys here today with an amazing guest that we have. And as always, you can always see what's going on with BALM at buildingaleadershipmindset.com. If you want to connect with me, you can connect with me at my email, buildingaleadershipmindset@gmail.com. Wow, we are getting tongue-tied. We are just having an amazing couple of episodes here today, and I have an amazing guest for you guys. We actually met through the Connected Leaders Academy. However, we actually met in person at Flashpoint last October, and I knew I had him on BALM. We've had a number of encounters with, other communities, because that's what it's all about. It's about building leaders, and I just love who he is, what he's about, and love his story. So let me just give you his information. We have today Dr. Oliver T. Reid. He is an international multi-bestselling and award-winning author, motivational speaker, and the founder and president of IALA Solution Consulting Firm, LLC, a human development organization providing specialized relationships, business consulting, counseling, and coaching services. He is known as the writing coach. He uses cutting-edge writing coaching techniques to help entrepreneurs, speakers, and coaches while leading them to live their highest potential. In addition, he is the creator of the revolutionary interactive card game for singles and couples, the InnerView, which I happen to have a deck of those. Within the past 7 years, Dr. Reid has published 25 best-selling books, contributed to 12 anthologies, and has won multiple awards for his literacy work, including the 2016 IALA Distinction of Excellence Legendary Honoree and NAACP 2016 to 2017 Black Men Image Award. Dr. Oliver T. Reid has had the distinct honor to speak to millions around the world and coach individuals on 4 continents. Wow. Dr. Reid has been featured on HuffPost, Black Enterprise, CBS, Fox, NBC, Roku TV, and other international media outlets. Oh my God, enough with that. Let's just get him right in here. Hello, Dr. Oliver T. Reid. How are you?
How are you, Nikki? How are you doing?
I am well. Welcome to BALM. You are now family. It was awesome meeting you back in October at Flashpoint, where you announced an amazing transformation in your life. Did you want to share that with us?
Yes. Flash. From the standpoint, I announced to everybody I couldn't have planned this, that through the journey of becoming one of the speakers there at Flashpoint and attendees at Flashpoint, I was in the midst of a huge shift where for years I was an entrepreneur by heart and trade and just my passion, but I was also working a 9 to 5 as well, or 9 to whenever as well. And some of you looking at this can understand what that means. So a lot of people didn't know that I was actually working a 9 to 5 because I was busy in my entrepreneurship journey. But during that process of Flashpoints coming in, Austin Haynes, which is the founder of it, asked me to come and speak and be a part, I was contemplating of stepping out of my 9 to 5 job and going to pursue my passion full time. And so with that, it kind of fell on the same day that Flashpoint happened, Nikki, as you know, was the same day I drove to Philadelphia from my job, turning in all of my computers, all of my work stuff, and heading straight there. And so then it kind of was memorable because it sparked the journey that I'm on.
I love it. And I just wanted to kind of start there. And first of all, I had never heard of nine to whenever, because I think that was me too. When I in corporate America, nine to whenever you finish or whenever you was tired of getting some stuff done, right?
Yes.
That was a good one. So yeah, it was amazing to see your journey that weekend and to listen to your story. And let's just go back a little bit prior to, well, way prior to Flashpoint. Can you just share who Dr. Oliver T. Reid was growing up? Where did you come from? What were some of the things you were, taught as a young man, and just growing up to, you know now being out there in the world?
Yes, I grew up with a great, fabulous mom who was very spiritual, very in the church, and kept me rooted and grounded in a lot of things. But I grew up abandoned and rejected by my father, experiencing the love of my mother, but also being abandoned by my father, who was estranged in my life. And then after that, my mom married a man who was abusive to me. So for years, I was abused inside of my home. Everything you can imagine, from beatings to, we used to call it in the South, whippings, to verbal abuse, to, I used to, as a child, Nikki, want to be invisible. I used to want to say, hey, I wish I had the superpower to just be invisible when people were, when he was coming in to abuse me. So I grew up under that angry kid, really, just growing up angry, had a good life from a standpoint of friends and being in a religious base, but just going through a lot of hardship, a lot of anger. So 1999, fast forward to that, sorry, 1995, I remember being in a place on Christmas Day of a deep-seated depression. And I didn't know what depression was, coming from an inner city project, growing up, in the inner city, African American community. We didn't discuss mental health. We didn't discuss any of that. It was almost like, you pray, you keep going. And I remember in 1995, Christmas Day, Nikki, I tried to kill myself with a drug overdose of pills, and couldn't die because I know that the Lord had a future and a plan for me. But I was really at a point of just really being broken and dejected. And so I remember really getting back centered and grounded. And I remember saying to myself, if I could help anyone, if I get through this, maybe I can help someone else. And writing has always been my, excuse me, my therapy. And so I always wrote journals and notepads and sticky pads. I've always won like writing contests, and that just kind of translated even in hip hop. I was an aspiring rapper. People don't know that, and so I was like, hey, this love affair with writing continued. So how I show up in the world after that is I learned to take my good, bad, ugly, the pain that I've experienced, and kind of turn it and shift it on its axis. I always say that high places are really low places inverted. It's how you look at
Mm,
it. And
mm,
so, from that standpoint, I'll say that again for somebody watching: the high places in your life only come by inverted low places. What you do at the lowest times is
mm,
preparing you for your high and pivotal moments. And so, I've been in coaching and all that great stuff that was in the bio, because I continue to bleed upon the pages. I continue to bleed upon the pages. I continue to live my life out loud. And if you follow me and know me, I'm very vulnerable in the sense of how much I share. That didn't come overnight.
mm,
That came from just a place of realizing that when you hold things in, you implode, and you
mm,
also limit the people you can help. Because there are people that are screaming with their mouth closed, Nikki, who need to hear
mm,
your story so they can get help. And if you're bearing your low moments and hard times and how you got through it, you then hinder the next generation. So I've been able to inspire on four continents. I've been able to speak and write books, all those great things, because I always tell people I have a lot of content. It's the content that keeps me writing because of the life I live, and everything that is around me. I've learned to use that for the good.
I love that. Oh my God, you said so many things. And, just going back to sitting in that room and hearing your story in more detail, it's no different than, just giving just a little synopsis of it. It's still as impactful that, we all go through some stuff. It's
Hmm.
all how we get
Hmm.
on the other side of that stuff. But knowing that, there is more life to live. It will get better.
Yeah.
And I love how you use that analogy about the access. When you're in the low, that's when the stuff is about to happen. That's when all the ingredients are poured in, that it's going to, and you have to be ready for that. Um, so let me know, what was that? At what point was that life changing, after your, attempt to take your life, which I know, you think about it today and you're probably grateful that, God did not take you. And I'm grateful that, that just was not your time. But just for our listeners who might be in that space, like, what did you have to do for yourself to say, what, enough with this, enough with carrying these burdens, carrying, all this stuff. What can I do better? Like, what were the things that were going into your mind, and what kind of help did you seek so that you can, get through what you were going through?
It was really going back to that point of realizing, I always say X marks the spot, right? X marks the spot. Or you always hear a lot of times where people say, hey, this is it factor or X factor or period of transition or wherever it may be. It was really from the standpoint of me realizing and forgiving my father and forgiving my stepfather. Now, my stepfather never apologized for the years of abuse. He would always talk to my mom about how sorry he was and he was going to talk to me, but he ended up dying before he could ever say sorry. Now, this will be somebody that can relate. Maybe you're holding things from a family member, a loved one, or a friend, or a spouse, or a coworker, and you're waiting for them. Nikki, people are waiting for them to really bring the benediction to their pain. Maybe they are waiting to that person to say, I'm sorry. Or maybe I'm waiting for that person to come make it right. That time may never come. I realize that that benediction that you want in your life, that pivotal moment that you're waiting for somebody else to create, may never come from that individual and may take you providing your own benediction. And what I mean by that is when I said to my father, after being estranged and after going through a process of not wanting to talk to him and him re-entering my life, I said to him the first time on that call when I was ready, I took my power back. And he was on the other end, Nikki, about to say, hey, I apologize. He was about to apologize for not being there. I was 34 years old. 34 years old, I've seen my dad a handful of times at that particular point. And he lived 30 minutes away from me and sometime in the same city.
Mm.
And he got ready to apologize. I had moved to Virginia by that time, and I was married and moved to Virginia. And I remember him on the other end saying, I think he got to the point where he said, and I said, you know what, Dad, I forgive you.
Mm.
I took my power back and said, I forgive you, not so much for him, but for me. And I
Yeah.
say this all the time because when people dishonor you, the only way sometimes you can break the cycle of dishonor is placing honor on the thing that caused you dishonor.
Yeah.
And so what I did is I said, oh, I forget. And it broke something in him. It broke something in me. And I'm so glad I did because you know the story later. I was so happy that I had taken that power back those 9 months. I'm talking to somebody
Yeah.
watching this screen. You may be in a position where you are waiting for that benediction and you might not ever get it. You have to be able to denounce the pain in your life. What I mean by that, you have to confront it. And when I did that, I was so happy because 9 months later, my dad was murdered.
Mm. Wow. Wow. That is, again, still getting chills. So share a little bit more, because you said you're glad that you did that. And then, this happened to him. How was that
Hmm.
healing for you during that process?
It was, it was 9 months when we started to share. We began to dialogue. And I remember sharing this piece. I had written this piece that I'm about to share live. I share this when I'm feeling unction. I just feel the free flow on this call today. But I wrote a piece prophetically or prior to me reconciling with my dad. Now, I want to share this point as a writing coach. I tell people to write your best future in the midst of your worst pain. Let me say it again. Write your best future in the midst of your worst pain. Why? Because if you can write it and see it and say it, it will then come to you. I believe in the law of attraction. I believe the law of what you say you can have, right? And I remember writing this poem that I'm about to say. It's called X-Men. It was at a place where I wanted to divorce my dad. I was so much in pain. I just got tired of everybody with their parents and their father, and somehow longing, even with my stepfather who abused me, I still longed to be a son. I still longed for his attention as well. And I was just getting this X, right? And I remember this poem, X-Men. So I'll share this with the audience and with you, Nikki. It's a powerful poem, but this, I want you to keep in mind, this was prior to me and my dad reconciling.
Mm-hmm.
And it's called X-Men. It goes, when I was young, I called to you. When I could speak, I called for you. When I couldn't walk, I crawled to you. But you were never there, man, always a here and everywhere, man. So I labeled you my X-Men. See, there's no pain like bleeding endlessly from the day-to-day incision of your hopeless rejection. I'm parked at life intersection, parallel to nowhere across the street from neglect. But don't get me wrong, I still have to show you respect. See, I know that your old man put the X on you, man. But thanks to the Son of Man, I'm a free man, lacking, wanting nothing, man. So I recite in the ears of my young man, the X marks the spot to God's eternal plan. Thankfully, he tilted my X to the side, man. Now I'm a free man. I multiply like the grains of sand. No longer an X-Man.
Mm.
That whole point was me prophetically speaking that even though the incision, even though the cut, even though the X, even though I wanted to you, I had to go deeper than my father and realize that his father had rejected him. And so he was only doing
Mm.
what he had been taught to do. He was only coping from what he had been taught to do. And that freed me, realized that, oh, it felt personal and it's personal, but there was something deep. Now you on the other side, right? We're having this podcast and somebody may be going through, you don't
Mm-hmm.
understand. Trust me, I get it. But you have to get to the root of the matter and not just the action. Let me say it again, getting to the root of the matter and not just the action, getting rid of the root. If you can get rid of the root, you can control the fruit.
Mm.
If you can get rid of the root, you can control the fruit in your life. What I mean by that, if you get to the root of what really happened to you, what's really making you angry, what's really making you feel a certain way, you can then deal with that root and then you can get a new fruitful situation. You know what's powerful? Nikki, I realized the only way you can change a harvest if you had a bad harvest is to plant a good seed.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go back and plant a seed or a different seed. You have to plant a different seed in order for the harvest to grow. And so when I wrote that poem, again, it was still prior to my dad and I reconciling. My dad and I reconciled, and I went back to that poem and realized I had prophetically spoke this
Mm-hmm.
before it happened, and then it manifested. So what
Yeah,
happens when you speak things that manifest? So
they
that's
come
how
to
it all happened.
fruition. Oh my goodness. This is what I'm talking about. Like you have to, I coach this all the time as well, Dr. Reid, is that it's so important because there's so many reasons why we choose to make a decision not to grow or not to build anything because of our past, whether we use it as a crutch subconsciously or knowingly. Which I tell people that I coach as well, like you have to really find out and I hope that's part of your coaching program as well. And I'm sure it is for a lot of life coaches, is really finding out where that core stems from, where that mindset stems from. What have, you've been through? What have you taken on that you just cannot let go? And I love when you said that you have to wow, you said so many good things, and I'm trying to flow with your poem too, because that X-Man poem that was deep. um Oh my goodness, what did you say? And I was on a flow of things and then it just jumped into my head. But just all in all, the fact that we have to get to the root of the problem, not only have grace on those that hurt you and yourself, but also forgive. And it's not for anyone else but yourself, for that you can move forward, so that you can lay that new foundation of your new life. It is possible. We all have done it. We all have went through it once or twice, but sometimes we continue to repeat that habit of not forgiving and holding on to things, or bringing some old stuff back into, things that we thought we buried, right? And
Yes.
how do you coach your mentees or your coachees? How do you help them uh, really battle that? Like, I know you tell them, well, let's get to the root of the problem, but what are some action steps that they really need to take, and be willing to accept what will come out to light as well?
Yeah, I always call it my milk writing system or my milk approach. And one of the things in milk is the M. And without going too deep, I'll say that's the message or the messaging. What message did you get out of the pain or out of the victory, or out of the defeat or out of the triumph? Everything leaves a message. And I
Mm,
realize that is, they always say greatness leaves clues, but I always say pain leaves clues. Everything gives you a message. What are you going to use it as? And I always say mess age,
mm,
mess, and then age. If you can endure your mess age, now everybody's mess age is not the same. You
mm,
can have a lot of money, you can have no money, but you still have some mess or an age. If you can endure the mess in your age, or look at age as your period of time, right? You
mm,
always say this for the age, or do this for the age, or do this for the time. If you can endure that, or be able to work through that and solve what it was, like you become the answer to the problem you had,
mhm,
then people will invest in you. So it's all about milking it, getting the message. Like, what is it? I don't touch the stove now because not only because it's hot, I don't touch the stove because it burnt me.
mhm,
And when it burnt me, it caused me to have to go to the doctor. It caused me to have to feel uncomfortable. So really that whole process of why I don't do certain things, because we live in a shallow age where everybody's like, one, two, three, give me three, four steps. But
mhm,
I always say that the practice doesn't make perfect. It's the
mhm,
process that makes perfect. If I'm
mhm,
practicing the wrong thing, Nikki, over and over and over and over again, I will not get out of what I need to get out of because I'm still practicing the same thing. But if I understand, oh, I got to tweak my process, change my way of thinking, change my way of reacting, controlling what I can own, then I'm really milking it and I'm becoming, okay, this is my message. There's so many people that want to do coaching, they want to write books, they want to do all these things. They don't know what their message is. They're
mhm,
going, I like to say they're in auto tune. They're trying to be like somebody else, and once you realize, oh, this is my message, I can now embrace my message. That's the M. Then once I get to the I in milk is implementation, which means that now I have my message clear, who I am and what I want to do, say, produce, whatever it is. Now it's time for implementation. I have to execute. Some people have great messages. They know what they want to do. They know their message, but they don't do anything.
mm,
So now they don't implement. So now you're still in the same great message. You know who you are. You know the process, but you don't implement. So now it's all about implementing on that. Execution is where people lack. Execution would separate you from being on the consumer or the provider side.
mhm,
All right. Now we move to L in milk, which is linking it all together. I do this a lot with my mentees, a lot with my people who entrepreneurs, speakers, and coaches that don't have a book. If you're an entrepreneur, speaker, and a coach, and you don't have a book about what you already do, you're doing yourself an injustice because you already built systems and processes or SOPs. You've already done these things. So now linking it together is how does I make my message and my implementation all work for me? Is it a book? Is it a course? Is it Is it a t-shirt line? Is it whatever it is that links it all together for you?
Mm.
It's so important. And then I'm going to give you this as a bonus. I'm giving y'all free secret sauce here. Like, this is saucy, right?
Take
This is
note.
saucy.
Yeah.
I only do this with Nikki because she's just a bomb. She gives you good quality, right? K is knowledge, or I use the K in knowing your book or knowing yourself. Shakespeare has a quote, "To thine own self be true,"
Mm.
right? So K is the knowledge or knowing your book. And when I'm talking to my clients who are writing books, there's a lot of publishers out there. There's a lot of people that do all this stuff. But I take people into a point of knowing your book,
Mm.
knowing this is where people will invest. When you have the knowledge, people don't care about your message. It's okay. They care about you implementing a little bit, and you can link it all together. That's great. But can you solve my problem with the knowledge and expertise that you have endured yourself? Now I'm ready to invest not only money, but relationships, time, right? My clientele, I might want to get involved with you because you're an expert. All right.
Amazing.
So now the biggest part of that is knowing yourself, knowing your book. I can't tell you how many stages I'm on where I work with authors, and then it goes, they ask the author, like, what's your book about? And they're like, oh, it's about this. Well, I think it's kind of like this, or maybe it's like that. And you can really look and say they really don't know
Wow.
their
Like what
book.
the purpose was.
Yes.
Wow.
And even as a speaker, if you don't know, let me give you this nugget. Writing is speaking, and speaking is writing. And when I learned that, I realized that there's multiple books that I haven't written yet because guess what? They're in my speaking phase.
Mm.
Once I begin to, oh, okay, think about it. When you write a book, you read it, and most people read it aloud or it's speaking. And so from that standpoint, if you're not capturing that message on everything from cover to finish to all the way through those steps from the M to the K, you have not fully maximized who you are. So I tell my clients, I worked with them on the way to, hey, anybody can pop a book out.
Mm-hmm.
It's how do we keep that book alive?
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. This is some good stuff. You just dropped some nuggets. They need to, watch this on repeat for sure. Before I prick your brain some more, let me go into a commercial real quick and I'll be right back. Oh my God, this is good.
Hi, my name is Jose Escobar, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Connected Leaders Academy. We're a growing tribe, a community of entrepreneurs all over the world, globally, all across the country, high performers, titans of industry. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to grow personally and professionally, scale your influence, develop your skill sets, move the needle in your business, more clients, more money, more profit, the bottom line, and of course, grow your circle and your network like never before, this is where you want to be. Join the Connected Leaders Academy today. We are scaling massively. We want to welcome you in. Check me out on Instagram and on Facebook, the @ JAESCO25. We look forward to having you join us. Take care.
Yes, the Connected Leaders Academy.
Yes.
Connect with Jose Escobar, but we have Dr. Oliver T. Reid here, and let me tell you, he's been dropping some nuggets. And if you haven't been jotting down notes, you need to rewind. He is just so masterful in his speaking. The experiences that he has shared with us today just go above and beyond, just looking at a different perspective. I love when you said writing is speaking, speaking is writing. That was just, I've never seen it in that sense. And knowing your book, it's so important. It's so funny when I'm in conversation now and someone tells me about something, I'm like, oh yeah, that's in chapter of action. That's in chapter of ready. Like, you have to be able to be ready, not only, to share, especially if you want to be a coach and you want to use that book as your authority and, go above and beyond just, book sales and really help people and impact, because that's the whole purpose, right? You have to know your book and really what it is, your message. But I love your milk and, how you laid it out, your acronym. I'm all about acronyms as well. But yeah, so, oh my God. So what else can you share with us? And, how has, this journey been after, building? How long have you had the milk writing system? For me, you were born with it, just being honest. But how long have you put it out there for the world?
Oh wow, it's been that's a really really good question. I was actually doing the milk writing system prior to doing it. It was kind of like I was always saying I had this saying, and I still say, milk the crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Like we run away from the crisis. Oh my goodness, is this we want to hide? But I'm learning to milk the crisis. I always say that pain doesn't owe you a pity party, but it owes you something.
Mm-hmm.
When you go through something, it owes you the loss, the rejection, the pain, the suffering. It's where you put your demand at. And what I mean by that is, okay, I suffered this. Am I going to cry about it all day for 20 years? Or I'm going to say, you know what? Let me write the journal on being divorced and coping. Let me write the journal on how to grieve after I lose a loved one. Because guess what people are doing, Nikki, on the other side? They're grieving and they're Googling where I need help. And what better way for somebody who's been through what they've been through? Or I lost all of my money. But then on the other side too, hey, the pain of success. We always look at pain as being this dark thing, but when you go on top, what I've learned, Nikki, as you climb and people see you grow and actually see you walking into your own, they then become who they really were in the beginning, but you didn't see it. Right? They begin to, I can't tell you how many times as I've grown in my journey, how it intimidates other people. People get intimidated. They begin to push their accusations on you. So I always had this milk thing where I said, hey, milk the crisis. I've been saying that for years. But officially for the last 2 to 3 years, I've been really focusing on milk writing system. And it was a time where I felt I had to be all these shiny things, right? I had to be all these shiny objects. And I had a friend of mine who said, hey, you know what? You don't have to be all these things. Just be Dr. Oliver T. Reid, the writing coach. You've written all these books. Don't you help people? And I've been doing that anyway. But from that standpoint, I started to really nail down the milk writing system because it's a system not only to help you get through your messages and all this stuff, but it dumps into a manuscript. There's so many people who writing is not the issue. I work with one of my great friends who had 100 speaking engagements. Writing wasn't her issue. She had so many journals and all that. It was like putting it together, taking that step to put it into a manuscript format. And so that milk writing system helps people take what they've been through and put it in a book, right? The books are still the #1 generator in the world, right? I even go deeper and I say, even God had a book, whether you're a believer, an unbeliever, spiritual or not. The #1 best-selling book of all times, Nikki, to this day is the Bible. It is the #1 anthology. If you think about it, it's an anthology.
Yeah.
Right. And so if God had a book, whether you believe in him or not, why wouldn't you have a book about your life, your purpose, your destiny? And so that milk writing system has been around to answer the question for a while, but officially for the last 3 years.
I love it. I still say you were born with it. So we're going to say however that is. You don't have to give your age. But I absolutely love it. Love what you're doing. Love what you're about. And can't wait to even, join you on whatever journey we can join in on together.
Yes.
Because I'm all about building leaders. And that's just my clear message. I am not a leader until I build more leaders. And I have to understand that. And that's the knowing, right? That's the knowing part, that you know what mission you're on and you're not going to sleep until it gets done. And, and it's okay. And you know what? I'm going to just be honest. I don't think I've ever said it to anyone. If you haven't read my book yet, my last chapter is a 1-page chapter. Why?
Wow.
It's about satisfaction, right? You never are satisfied. There's always more to do. Life will continue. You'll reach your goals. You'll be happy. You'll celebrate. And you build another goal and you're on another mission, because we're not going to rest until it's our last day, when we're on this mission of just impacting other people. So I just wanted to keep it clear, simple, straight to the point. Didn't want to sugarcoat anything. And I love this journey. This is my first book.
Congrats.
Thanks. Yes. And it has been awesome. And I love that what you're doing, you've even, even these calls, this podcast is so beneficial, not just to, our listeners, but I take and use this for, growth, because I bring on great people that I'm in community with, which I'm just blessed. And that's all God's doing. All you have to do is ask, and trust me, you'll receive. He'll pour it on you. Because that's what I asked for community last year. And, just with this conversation, you're like a story, all your experiences are your stories, and they need to be heard by someone, whether it's going to be on a stage, from a book, from a podcast, from an online live, from a reel, from a one-on-one, I can go on and on. Just get in community with people outside of the people that are not serving you. That's just plain and simple. So how can people get a hold of you and what you have going on here? Because I'm just in awe.
Yes, they could definitely, if you want to learn how to get that book out of your head, Entrepreneur, Speakers and Coaches, right? I want to help you with a free training. You can go to www.milkwritingsystem.com and scrolling through the screen. You want to learn more about booking me to speak or coming into your organizations and really troubleshooting, you can go to www.drolivertreid.com. Any of my books were fully branded at Dr. Oliver T. Reid on social media, on Amazon, any books, whatever you put that in, you can see some of the books that I've written. And also, I want to call out, if I can, I'm working on something in September. Several things you'll be seeing me do. These is writing, I do a lot of writing retreats and different things that we're going to be doing. But what I really want to call out is 300 men. I am working to bring together 300 men, Nikki, in Atlanta, Georgia, in September 22nd to 23rd. 25th of September is my birthday. And all I want for my birthday this year is to honor and serve men. So I'm calling 300 men. It's going to be called He Men's Conference. And it is amazing. And our theme for this year is mud, MUDD. And if you've been through the mud, you've been through the ringer, wherever you are in life as men, we're gathering. There will be business leaders. There'll be preachers, pastors, singers, everybody from all walk of life. There'll be so many different things that we'll be talking 2 full days. And right now, you could go to it for a simple, look at this, simple payment of under $100, and you can enjoy those 2 days and people are going to be telling their story. They're going to be doing whatever. So it's just been in my heart. And Nikki, if you know anybody, man, we want to get them there in Atlanta for those 2 full days.
That will be awesome. So we definitely need to have more conversation. I'll definitely put it, in the descriptions and all that stuff. I just wanted to show a book that I got from you at Flashpoint, Effective Conversations to Ignite Relationships. You have to read this book. It's just so good. I'm not going to give you any of the details, but this book is absolutely amazing. And how you really, if you want to build more relationships, this is the first book you need to read. It's just, the conversations that you need to have to be what you're not used to. It's that uncomfortable space. It's that real, true authenticity of just being you, one, and actually listening to that other person. So thank you so much for that. Oh my God, we have to have, and I'm glad we have a call in 2 days because I'll have all my questions for you. So I am super excited. Thank you so much for joining the BALM family. You have just served us. I am absolutely full. I mean, I could take some more. I could take some dessert, but I am absolutely full. And I hope that, our listeners took notes, watch this on repeat. If you need to speak to someone that's going to guide you, take up, when I say take advantage of that free consultation with Dr. Reid, that's what you need to do. He's just going to inspire and just fuel you up for everything and anything that you have going on in your life right now. Thank you so much. Thank you to all the listeners for listening in and tuning into another episode of Building a Leadership Mindset podcast. As I always say, have a great day and make it count.